Hello, and welcome to the Trumped Up Podcast, first episode of 2021. Fortunately, we put 2020 behind us, except for some of the political things that have happened over the last few weeks. But first, we need to let you know that you can catch the Trumped Up Podcast across all major podcasting platforms. Plus, the Trumped Up Podcast has its own social media channels, and you can follow them on YouTube, Twitter, or on Twitter, actually. It's not there anymore, but the majority of the Trumped Up Podcast social media will now be found on ONN, Outsiders News Network. Many of you may have just discovered the Trumped Up Podcast because it is now part of ONN, Outsiders News Network. I'll iterate again, I am Keith Rao. I am the host of the Trumped Up Podcast. This is where ONN originally began. Originally, what the show was about was breaking down the media coverage and the hyperbole and the just trumped-up charges and false narratives that they were spreading about the 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. No matter what they do, that will never change. And unless he leaves office early, a couple days, which isn't likely despite the crazy stuff they're talking about right now. We're not going to get into that right at this moment. But yes, you can catch the Trumped Up Podcast across all major podcasting platforms, including Anchor, who is our podcasting host. But you can also now find the Trumped Up Podcast on onnnewsnetwork.com. The reason we started ONN was because we were being censored under the Trumped Up Podcast because we supported the president. As most of you know, there's major censorship going on, and we're not going to get into that. But if you tune into if you tune into ONN's Sunday daily coverage at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, either on ONN Outsider News Network's Facebook page, on their Twitch channel, on their YouTube channel, or on onnewsnetwork.com/broadcast or broadcast. But you can just click one of the boxes in the little checkbox drop-down menu to take you to different pages, and you'll see the Trumped Up Podcast page there. So, the election's over. The Democrats have gained power now. Well, what does that mean? What now? What are we in store for? The Democrats were good at talking, and they're good at playing the political game. But when it comes to legislating, they only passed 28 bills the entire year last year into law. I'm sure they passed a whole crap load of more bills that Mitch McConnell and the Republicans wouldn't take up in the Senate, which is no longer going to be an issue because they have all the power and they likely will get any agenda they want. What the first thing of that might be is the House at the end of last year passed a pot decriminalization or cannabis legalization bill, and the Senate wasn't going to take it up. But to give Biden a quick win, why the hell wouldn't they pass that now? Because at this juncture, 2/3 of the country pretty much supports cannabis legalization, and well over 30 states, a majority have medical cannabis use, and over 10 now have recreational use. And this is only going to continue because when people like me go out and vote for ballot initiatives, that's when your vote actually counts at the local level, and you can change the law. But even like in the state I live in, when they did pass this, the state then got involved and changed some of the rules and things and changed the law, but it's still legal in the state, and it's still a win, and it's still a tax revenue that not very many people are complaining about, let me tell you. So that's one thing they could do, but that's what the Democrats can do. But what now for us? People that support the 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. What's our purpose? We need to come together. I go through Facebook and YouTube and all these other pages, and I see tons of people like myself who just have a message, and they haven't been able to build a following. And when they do start building a following, they get censored by social media sites like Facebook and Twitter and whoever else wants to shut them down because they don't agree with their message, or they claim things are false news. Although for years we heard about Russia and nobody's claimed any of this was false news, although it was 100% fake news. There was no Russian collusion. It never happened. And we could go through that over and over again, but if you want to, there's plenty of episodes that you've missed, and you can go back and check it out, because we've been going for a year and a half now, and we've built up a small following, but a good following, and I thank each and every one of you for your support. I'm glad to have you on board, and I'd love to have all you new people. There is a link on the Anchor page of our podcast where you can send us a voice message anonymously and tell us your opinion and what you think of the Trump Up podcast, or what you think about the Democrats or the president or censorship or whatever your view is. Even if you're liberal on social issues like myself, I've gone through this quite a few times, and I'll go through it quite a few times. Some people would say I'm a libertarian. I do lean that way a little bit, but I'm a true independent. I believe the government shouldn't spend money that it doesn't have, and I believe the government should get the hell out of your life, because we don't want to live in a nanny state, and we don't need the government to tell us to do like the Chinese government or the North Korean government, because the more they take your rights and your freedoms away, the harder it is to ever get those back, if you ever get them back, because many of those rights may go away. But we're all saying here, oh my God, a lot of you may think the election was stolen. You might think it was voter fraud. You might just think the Chinese sent this virus here and it led to mass mail-in voting, and that allowed record numbers of people to vote, and people violated state laws. And some of these things are facts, and there's a lot of evidence to the other ones, but nobody can prove it, and the FBI apparently isn't going to dig into this because they don't believe there was any widespread fraud, and that's okay, whatever. We're just going to move on. It is what it is. That's what we got to do. We got to move on. We got to keep moving forward. Always in life, keep moving forward. If we just stand still, and I'm seeing out there in comments all over the internet from great patriots that this 4 years and this election and the amount of stuff that's come at us fast and furious and the amount of stuff that's gotten done, but a lot of people now are like, look, my vote really doesn't count. Why should I bother? I'm not going to go out and vote. And then I see the other collaborative that are going to join people like me who registered as an independent. We understand in some states you must be registered either a Democrat or Republican or some other party like the Green Rainbow Party or the Libertarian Party or whatever other parties exist. I don't know. There's probably quite a few of them that are small and not very known, but it is what it is. But in my state, you don't have to register with any party, and you can vote any way you want. And this, we believe, should be the way it is in every state, because then independents would have a larger voice. But what now? Let's keep going back to the question, what now? What's our purpose? Our purpose, one, is to keep fighting for freedom and to keep the patriotism that we've seen in this country for the last 4 years on display at every Trump rally across America and in boat parades and 90-mile long parades through Arizona and just crazy things, and not 12 cars in a parking lot with a guy yelling because he's old and senile and likely needs a hearing aid. I don't know why he's always yelling, but that's not going to be very exciting news coverage for the next 4 years. An old guy who's pretty clueless yelling at us and telling us it's going to be a long, dark winter. Let me tell you, since the now official president-elect 46, Joseph R. Biden, since he said that, we started gaining daylight, and I'm sure we've gained at least 10 or 15 minutes, because it was dark at 7 a.m. not too long ago, and now it's been light for 15, 20 minutes at that point, and the sun's going down slightly after 5 p.m. in the Eastern Standard Time Zone, where I am located. So, yeah, I'm going to say we gained at least 10, 15 minutes, and this is just going to continue because we're now gaining daylight. So, the long, dark winter, don't listen to that stuff. It's depressing, and it's going to bring you down. And sometimes you just got to tune out and shut the TV off, or you just got to go do something else. Like personally me, I have a hobby of online sim racing on iRacing.com. And if you love auto racing, I highly recommend them. It's a lot of entertainment. You'll meet a lot of great people from around the world. Not China, by the way, or any other communist country, but many other countries. And I mean, a few bucks a month and a few $100s worth of a computer that can handle the game and a steering wheel. because I don't recommend driving with a controller because people crash doing this, but that's besides the point. But if you're into that, go out and enjoy it. But yeah, sometimes you just got to tune out from the political or the news, or you'll just find yourself, for when Donald Trump first started running for president, the coverage was pretty fair and they were helped building him up. But then he gained a lot of traction and he gained a lot of support. So what did they have to do? They had to start attacking him because, oh my God, he was gaining all this popularity. And they started taking things out of context and trumping up things against him, hence the term trumped up. It's also a euphemism for how the world is. If you didn't know, if you don't know what a euphemism is, well, there's plenty of dictionary sites on the internet. You can go look it up yourself. But pretty much it's a word used in place of a profane word. But I don't find it profane because it's part of our vocabulary where I live, and people just talk like that. We don't talk like people like Mitt Romney. Nope. We don't talk about weird things that these political people make up these big fancy words because they don't think you understand them, or they're making them up so you don't understand them to confuse you. But what now? We need to build a movement. That's why I started ONN, because we need to bring all these smaller people together because we'll have strength in numbers. And you got to keep spreading the message and fight the censorship and fight for the truth and get the message out because they're trying to control the narrative out there. And they're doing a damn good job at it. And they're shutting down a lot of people. But you know what? If they shut us all down, then it's just them and their groupthink and their similar beliefs and their similar ways of thinking. And if they don't have us to argue with because we're all gone, we went somewhere else because we didn't like the product we were getting. But when you get a free product, well, you put up with a lot of crap. Let me tell you. Welcome to socialism, because that's pretty much the way these social media sites are. And then it's worse when you take big tech like Google, because you go search for something and then you get 1,000 ads in your email, or you just went to like Walmart or Wendy's or some other restaurant and suddenly you're getting coupons on your phone and text messages and, hey, I didn't sign up for this. And then I see this thing on a pretty credible news station earlier this week or last week where they're talking about, hey, they're tracking you and you can go on your phone and you can shut that off, but get to the end of it, and the moral of the story was you shut it off, but they're still tracking you. You can never shut off Google tracking you. And they have monopolized an industry, and they're in like every Android, and I don't know about, in every Android phone and whatever, but I don't know about the iPhone because that's made by Apple, so maybe they got some other deal going on over there, which I wouldn't doubt it because they're probably major competitors. Well, they are major competitors. Speaking of which, I'd like to congratulate Elon Musk for knocking Jeff Bezos down a notch on the world's wealthiest people chart, because now Elon Musk is now the richest man in the world. And he's doing things that are more useful, in my opinion, than Bill Gates from what we've seen. And we're not going to get into Bill Gates because there's just way too much craziness out there about that guy, and there's just too many conspiracy theories, and we'll go into left field, and we don't need to do that. But we're going to take a quick break with a message from our sponsor, and we'll be right back at the Trumped Up Podcast. Hey, you too can join the podcasting world and be one of the greatest podcasters out there. Build an audience, get sponsorships, earn money, and do many, many interesting things. You can also get listener support to help sponsor your show, all by using Anchor. Anchor is the easiest way to become a podcaster. Anyone can do it. If you got something to say, or someone thinks you got something to say, or you just want to say something, come and join Anchor and join the podcasting revolution. Hello, and welcome back to the Trumped Up Podcast on ONN Outsiders News Network, the news media of, for, and by the people, literally. That's right, literally. You have the opportunity to join us at ONN Outsiders News Network and bring your show, your podcast, your independent documentary, film, or other shows. We're also going to be doing some interesting things. Soon we're going to be bringing on some musical artists on some of our shows and helping promote them and get them out there and give them some publicity as well. But this way we can bring everybody together and the collective of the platform, and we build each other's social media following, but we also bring people to a centralized location to get the message so we can be in a mass strength of numbers and fight even harder and spread the message even more, because you're going to have to fight back more now than ever. Not physically. Violence isn't acceptable. We're not going to get into the Capitol thing. It is what it is, and 15 people have now been arrested on federal charges, and there was a bomb threat today, actually, in the Capitol, I believe, and they evacuated the area around the Capitol. There was also several bomb threats, I believe, the day of the Save America rally and when they breached the Capitol, which we need to get into that to a point, because the security was so lax at the location that was in a joint session with as many of the 535 members of Congress that were there, as well as the vice president. So you had in the same location the second guy in charge and the third person in the succession of power, the same location, and the Capitol was breached. We've also seen reports out there about CBS acquired audio of there was possible plane that was going to fly into the Capitol building in response to Trump's taking out Soleimani. And we've all seen the reports about Iran this week with the assassination attempt to take out the president, according to the Iranian leaders. We can't confirm that. This is a report we see on the internet, and we're just putting it out there. It was from a credible source, and if CBS is saying they have this audio, it likely will have been or will be on the CBS Evening News, as well as every other mainstream media outlet eventually. We're also still waiting for the Capitol Police. The chief has resigned, or he's been placed on leave, or was fired. We're not sure. As well as the Sergeant at Arms of the Senate, which I'm not sure if he's the guy that's in charge of security for the Senate, or he's just the guy that runs the show and does all the ceremonial stuff every day, and he's just scared and he doesn't want to be injured. That's fine. But we shouldn't live in fear in America. But we get it. We're in scary times. And there are people out there with bad intentions. And yes, they can be on both sides of the aisle. It's wrong. Like we said, we have conservative and traditional views. And then we have socially liberal views on other things like legalization of marijuana and marriage rights, not just for gay people, but for if people want to marry 3 people, that's their business. It's their life. So be it. Who am I to tell them how to live their life? Our real purpose is to get the government the hell out of our life instead of telling us how to live our life. But this is a tough battle because not only is it the government telling us this, now you have the mainstream media telling you this, and social media telling you this, and big tech, and they're controlling the message. And if your message doesn't fit their message, also we have this in academia, so in colleges and universities, and really it's just a mass amount of one narrative. And if your view is different, we're going to put you in the corner somewhere, or we're going to shut you up. We're going to put duct tape on your face, not literally, figuratively put duct tape over your mouth so you can't say anything. But we have to peacefully push back. Let's put it that way. That's the best way I could describe it. Peacefully push back against the attack on our freedoms of speech, expression, religion, the right to the pursuit of happiness. Yes, I know that it's the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and that's not a constitution. It's a constitutional right that you're guaranteed the pursuit. You're not guaranteed the result of that, but that is life, and so it is. But you can keep pursuing it, and they can't stop you. But if they do stop you, then they're infringing on your rights. And, well, that was a battle that you'd either have a lot of money to fight, or you need a large group of people and some pro bono lawyers to take on your case, or an activist group to fight for you. But you by yourself can't do this. But us together as a collective, a platform, a network of all these people. We have to come together. I'm telling you, we can't do this alone. It's a lot of work doing it alone, I'll tell you that. I mean, I started after the election and what I was seeing and seeing the media. I on a whim said, hey, let me start ONN Outsiders News Network. And I created a page. And then I went and purchased a website. And then I bought a domain. And boom, 2 months later, there's almost 5,000 followers. And almost 4,000 people have liked this page. And trust me, they didn't just show up. I have an interesting, aggressive market tactic that some people might consider spam. I don't consider it spam because I'm not just randomly sending people messages. It's not that. I'm not trying to get people to buy a product. I'm not the car warranty people. But I make my presence known, and people know who ONN Outsiders News Network are on a lot of conservative pages, and even a few other pages that aren't so conservative. And we've had some trolls, and we're always going to have trolls. And no matter what you do on the internet, you'll have trolls. If you, the censorship, once we started growing so exponentially, we caught somebody's attention because, we posted 1 or 2, maybe 3 things. And one was the picture of the march the day before the march, but it wasn't the march. It was a picture from, I guess, the March for Life that the source we got it from, who is credible, put this. So they may have got it somewhere else. Why are we being punished for this? Just remove this post from us. But the person who originally made this post, punish them because they did it and they misled the people. We didn't intentionally do this. And that's really how it should work. But it doesn't. And they're not going to change the rules because I said so, or you say so, or anyone else says so, because they have their own agenda. And they're going to keep going with their agenda and whatever their purpose is, because you didn't know it, because cannabis isn't legal federally. If you were a registered marijuana dispensary in any of the states that allow this, you're not allowed to put your dispensary on Facebook because they think the government's going to come get them for drug trafficking or promoting drug use or whatever. I don't know what their belief is, but I see a lot of pages that are pot related. That's for sure. They don't shut those down, but they do shut down. So I don't know what these algorithms are and these beliefs and why they should shut things down or what this and why they should target people. And because, people like me, sure, you might suppress me because I support the president or because I was growing too fast and my message was getting out there. And oh my God, the little guy is making it. Well, we got to slow him down. So be it. We're just going to come back. If you stop us, we're just going to come back again. It may not be the same form, maybe another form, but we're coming back. We're not going anywhere. One way or another, we're going to be here and the message is going to be out there and we're going to keep the message out there. And we're going to keep spreading the message and we're going to keep fighting for truth. And if something is blatantly wrong, we have reports of voter fraud. So they're talking about a possibility of something. That's like me talking about, this guy on Live PD once, he was taken seriously by the police about the aliens contacting him. And he said this several times. So they're either being nice and they understand he has a mental health problem, or they really believe he's serious and he thinks he's contacted by aliens. Now, don't get me wrong. I've watched many shows about aliens and ancient aliens and things. Granted, I'm not big on ancient aliens because that show is backed by the one and only George Soros. Yes, if you didn't know it, pay attention if you watch that. But I do believe from all historical reports and things we've seen that aliens likely exist. It's not a fact. It's an opinion. And if anybody states an opinion, they shouldn't fact check it because it's an opinion. I've seen things like that you blatantly knew were not real because it was satire or other things, and boom, they flagged it. I'm like, really? They flagged this? How stupid. But that's what they do. Or the stupid warnings about elections have procedures and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, sure, they have procedures and backup mechanisms and this and that, and guess what? Doesn't mean they work. I'm not going to say they do. I'm not going to say they don't. But I will say that voter ID should exist where you give me your ID and you match the signature, and as long as it's somewhat reasonably close, okay, that's good. Now, if it's so blatantly different that nobody can even tell, no, that's not the same person's signature, no, we can't accept that, but is what it is. So what now? We need to keep the movement going. And I know a lot of you don't want to vote ever again. I feel that way myself. I live in a blue state, and the only 2 times in recent history were the last 2 presidential elections, and it wasn't for the president. It's because the first time was I voted to legalize medical cannabis, and the second time I voted to legalize recreational cannabis. Because why should the government tell anybody with my body, my choice? Hey, we could use this for a lot of things, like, it's my body, it's my choice, I can do what I want to it. If I want to put tattoos on it, go ahead. Hey, if I want to ingest marijuana, edible form, smoked form, whatever, it's my business, not yours. I get we don't want you smoking and it's going to cost us more money for your health care. I understand the rationale, but just because you raise a pack of cigarettes to $100, people are still going to buy them, man. It's an addiction. It is what it is. We're going a little long here, and we know you got busy lives, so go check out onnewsnetwork.com. Tell your friends about the Trumped Up podcast, and if you know anybody who makes content, it doesn't have to be a cinematic production. It could just be you sitting in front of your wall, stating your opinion on life, on the news, on politics, on crime, on government policy. We'd love to have you. If you've already been doing a show for a long period of time and you have a following, bring them to us. Bring your fans to us, because we need to build the movement. We can't just let the movement go. And let me tell you, all this stuff that's going on with big tech and the censorship and with the thing that happened with the president that we'll get into on the Meltdown Sunday at noon Eastern on ONN's live, well, it's not live play, the live stream of our recorded programming. And we should be doing a new show, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I'm going to be joined by Scott Ford of the Scott Ford Show, which is also on ONN Outsiders News Network. And if you haven't seen it, check it out. And you can also go over and subscribe to Scott's wonderful YouTube channel. And while you're there, head over to the ONN Outsiders News Network and the Trumped Up podcast channels and subscribe to both of those too. Because the more of us that get together, the more we build this movement, and the more we keep moving forward, because we can't be stagnant. Just keep moving forward. Don't let them bring you down. Don't let them keep you down. Don't be depressed. Don't fall for that long, dark winter crap. No, it's time to rise up and keep peacefully pushing forward to make America stay great. We don't make it great again, because it's already great. And there's going to be forces that try to change that. But we're the rational people that have to stop that. But we have to do it peacefully, because we condone violence. We don't condone violence. We condemn violence in any form, whether that's the NFL player beating his wife or anyone else that during this pandemic has been beating their wife or children, and those things have gone up, or people that want to get in a bar brawl, or people that are Karens in the grocery store over somebody's not wearing a mask. Look, there's a New Year's resolution for you. I'll leave you with that this week. Don't be a Karen. That's your New Year's resolution. And if your name's Karen, we don't mean to offend you. It's just the term, and we don't even know where it came from except somewhere on the internet. Seems to be where everything arises these days. But hey, they gave us a way to get out there, and we thank you. And thank you for listening to the Trumped Up Podcast. Check us out on all major podcasting platforms and across social media, and now on ONN, Outsiders News Network. I'm Keith Rao, and I am out.